Thanks for tuning in to Directory Insights in 10 Minutes, brought to you by Guardians of the Directory. I'm your host, Craig Birch. As promised, the series is all about cutting through the noise. No fluff, no filler. Just practical insights for Active Directory and Entra ID admins who want to secure and manage their environments efficiently. Today's topic is AdminSDHolder. And you're probably thinking, AdminSD what? Well, it's actually an object inside of Active Directory that is used as a permission role template to secure administrative access. This is also an attack vector for threat actors to establish persistence inside of Active Directory. So what am I talking about? So first, you need to be in Advanced View in ADOC, and then under the Systems container, you're going to see an object called AdminSDHolder. And you're probably thinking to yourself, hey, Craig, you're crazy. This thing doesn't look like it has any objects associated to it. But I can assure you, this is used by a backend process called SDProp. It stands for Security Descriptor Propagator inside of Active Directory. And this runs every 60 minutes inside of your Active Directory and then uses this particular object as a permission role template to secure your protected groups inside of Active Directory. So what am I talking about? So if we look at the AdminSDHolder here in Active Directory, what you'll see is in their security tab, we have these permissions. And here we can see that George Baker, right? He has full control over the AdminSDHolder. So SDProp's going to run behind the scenes, and then it's going to take those permissions and move them to those protected groups inside of Active Directory. So if we look at the membership, nothing to see here. George does not exist. Remember, it's using the ACLs off of the object inside of Active Directory called the AdminSDHolder to secure the ACLs of the objects that are protected by this particular process called SDProp. So here we can see that George Baker, right, has full control over the administrators and all of those protected groups. We can see it across like account operators as well, domain admins, etc., right? Because these are all the protected groups. There's many more, but these are the ones we're going to focus on just for this conversation. Now, if we go in and look at this object again, we're going to see that, hey, we have these security, and we can see that, wow, some of these are easy to understand. But then when we go in and look at this as from an advanced perspective, this gets very complex to understand who has access to what. We have deny ACLs, we have allow, they're all out of order, right? They're very hard to see inside of an organization. And you can see I have some Microsoft Exchange objects in there, and it's probably, as well as the AD sync account or the Entra ID sync account, the MSOL_do it, or if you picked a different account name, that account would have it as well. Now, back in the day, if you recall, when you do the domain prep inside of Active Directory for Exchange, it created these permissions on the AdminSDHolder, but it doesn't need them, right? So Microsoft then put out a cumulative update to reduce those permissions. The same thing with the latest update of Entra ID Connect Sync, right? The MSOL account doesn't need those permissions to the AdminSDHolder. So we should really pay close attention to that. If we find a group inside of Active Directory that's associated with the AdminSDHolder, we also need to then verify the group membership, because that means anybody that was in that group had access to the AdminSDHolder, which again gives you access to the protected users group. Using the GUI, it's not very easy, so it's very hard to find these things. So how can we go about and find these things so that it's easy to understand what's going on? Well, let's open my favorite tool, PowerShell, and probably any admin's tool out there, and I'll share the PowerShell with you because it's a little more complex than what we've been showing recently in our videos. You can see it's got several lines of code here, but it's not too difficult. And again, I'll post it in the chat, but let's just kind of see what the output would look like if we ran something like this in our environment. This will definitely help me understand what permissions exist on my container. And what I'm going to focus on are what I'll call dangerous permissions inside of Active Directory. Things like generic all, right properties. And then really we want to also know if they have like DC sync rights, etc. inside of the AdminSDHolder. And we can see that again, here is an easy way to visualize this. We can see the Exchange server says the right property, and it shows this one's denied on that particular generic call, but there are other accounts in here that have right properties, and it's not coming from one of the built-in admin groups. So I actually am checking the group membership as well. Again, I will post this on PowerShell in the description in the video so that you guys can copy this PowerShell and run it in your environment. This should give you a good baseline of what your current AdminSDHolder permissions are. Again, if there's a group in there that looks suspicious, you need to audit the membership of that group. And if there's an account in there that looks suspicious, you need to look at what that account is, understand what it is, and see through the security logs if it's been used recently. So again, this is a great way for an attacker to establish persistence inside of Active Directory because it basically controls your administrative security model. If I can modify the AdminSDHolder with more than right permissions, then I can actually take over Active Directory. So that's it for today's episode of Directory Insight in 10 minutes. Remember, keep your AD security simple, fast, and actionable. If you found this useful, like, share, or drop us your thoughts. Got a topic you want us to cover? Let us know. Until next time, stay vigilant, stay guarded, and become the guardian of your directory.